better.
Hello, we are live. This is the Rangers Review, and I am in grey, dull Glasgow, and Derek Clark, beep, is in Portugal. He is in. Are you in Porto just now, Derek, or you? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Braga, Jonny. But you say it's grey and dull. It's overcast here, cloudy skies. So it's not flip-flop weather, that's for sure. Not shorts and t-shirt stuff. So it's pretty much like back home, I have to say. So feel very much at home.
So you're already in Braga? I thought you were in Portugal
in
then on your way. In Porto and then on your way.
But yeah, we got a flight from Liverpool to Barcelona yesterday, and crack of dawn this morning from Barcelona to Porto, and then a bus from Porto Airport up to Braga. So I've literally just stopped at a little cafe here. We've just been dropped off in Braga. I've seen a couple of Rangers supporters walking around already. There's a few on the bus heading up. There was a fair few heading out from Liverpool to Barcelona doing the trip that I was doing. So all converging on Braga today.
Okay, fantastic. And Derek will be there all afternoon sending in video. You'll be talking to fans. It's going to be fantastic in terms of what we're going to get from Portugal. Now, let's have a chat about the game, Derek. Listen, this is a massive afternoon. There's been a lot of negativity, understandably, on the back of an Old Firm defeat that was very, very disappointing. But let's be honest, this is the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Rangers aren't supposed to be here. No Scottish club is supposed to get to this stage of one of the two more exalted European competitions. It's a huge opportunity, isn't it? It's time to put the Old Firm game to bed, because if you get through this game unscathed, what an opportunity you've got at Ibrox next week.
Oh, yeah, definitely, Jonny. I think it's fair to say there's been a fair bit of disappointment surrounding the club after Sunday, and the fans, of course, rightfully are upset about that. But I think attention soon turns to this game. You're right, it's a cracking opportunity. I mean, Calvin Bassey said yesterday it's important to don't let that disappointment sort of manifest itself, and it also that's going to affect the performance this evening. So vitally important, I think, that they reset. I mean, in Europe, of course, their performances have been exceptional. To put out Dortmund and Red Star, to qualify after such a poor start in the group as well. It really has been a tremendous run to get to this stage, and if they can get past Braga, which is very winnable, there's no doubt about it. Braga will fancy their chances, Rangers will fancy their chances. If they can keep the tie alive and heading back to Ibrox, and you'd fancy Rangers to progress to the semi-finals, which would be an outrageous achievement for a Scottish club. Can't hear you, Jonny. I don't know if
you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I started that off by saying Derek's a professional broadcaster and I'm a muppet, and I've pretty much confirmed that, haven't I?
What were
Guys,
you saying
there was nothing that I said that added anything to anything, so don't worry about that. No, what I was saying was, sorry about that, folks. As Andrew Barkley says here, £1 for 2 months on the website at the moment. Can't even get a bar of chocolate for that. And on top of that, not only do you get all our great content, but we have a trip to Ibrox for one of the subscribers for 4 people, and you will get a full tour of the stadium with a legend. So yeah, I hope that was worth waiting for, guys. I can't imagine it's too nice listening to nothing and watching my ugly mug enthusiastically droning on first thing in the morning as you're having your cornflakes. So I do apologise about that. Right, let's get stuck into the actual teams, Derek. Now, yes. I got a bit of reaction on Twitter the other day. I said that I felt that Rangers should start with Sakala and Kent up front. I'm assuming that Gio's going to go with the 3-5-2. He's going to play Lundstrom in this flexible role where he can drop into a back five or he can push it in midfield, depending on the game. And what that's meant, obviously, in Europe is that you've got effectively a front two. I think it should be Sakala and Kent because of their pace, Derek. I think Kemar Roof can get a bit isolated under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Sakala doesn't have to worry about that. You can get him in with a long ball. What do you think of this? I got a lot of people saying they agreed. They felt Sakala would be a good option. Where do you stand?
Jonny, I've got to admit, before you mentioned it on the morning briefing, I think Tuesday or Monday it was, I hadn't thought of that idea of playing Sakala up top alongside Kent playing off him, you'd imagine. But now I've had a couple of days to think about it. I'm sort of grown round to the idea. He offers blistering pace. His final ball, we all know, it's hit and miss at times, rather erratic in front of goal. But Rangers need an outball this evening, and Fashion Sakala would be able to get the ball up the pitch. There's no doubt about it. Whether it sticks and whether he can bring players into play around about him remains to be seen. Roof will do that, but you need to change the shape. That's why I asked Giovanni van Bronckhorst this question yesterday, because we've seen on Sunday it didn't work. Kemar Roof is not Alfredo Morelos. Rangers are going to have to change how they approach games and how they play to get the best out of Kemar Roof. It didn't work on Sunday. If he plays tonight, they're going to have to change the way they play. And I don't know, with such a short turnaround, whether they can do so. I think Fashion Sakala would probably be the better option. In effect, he is no Alfredo Morelos, we know that. But as a sort of lone front man, if you like, I think he could be a better option than Kemar Roof. But it's going to be one of the two, I think. Another alternative, I guess, if you go left field and play Ryan Kent as a false nine, I wouldn't be averse to that as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens and how Rangers approach this game. There's no doubt about it. Morelos is huge. He's a massive miss. He loves this competition, doesn't he? So how they're going to cope without him remains to be seen. But yeah, it's going to be one of either Sakala or Roof, you'd imagine. And Jonny, I think Sakala wouldn't be I think that would be a decent option. I know I mentioned earlier on he played in Prague for that game against Sparta Prague. Didn't really work, but there wasn't many Rangers players that were performing well on that night. It was a bit of a disaster, and quite lucky to come away with a 1-0 defeat on that occasion. But certainly, it's an opportunity for either Sakala or Roof to take a claim. I don't agree with Sonny Boy if it's going to be the both of them. I think it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. I can't see Kemar Roof and Sakala playing together, because that would mean you've got the trio with Kent and a different kind of shape than Giovanni van Bronckhorst is playing. It would be very, very attacking. And you'd have to say that this game is going to be one where Rangers will have to dig in. They will have to accept that Braga are going to come on to them. They're going to try and dominate the ball. We know how Carlos Carvajal's teams play. And Derek, you know Carlos Carvajal from a previous life. If you want to tell the viewers what he used to call you when you used to cover games down for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, he's a right character, Carlos. He used to call me Barry Bannon, of all people. So I'm not too sure why, but there you go. I was Barry Bannon. But yeah, he's a great character. He's one of football's good guys, full of great analogies. I don't know if it's a Portuguese thing. I know we've seen that when Pedro was the Rangers manager, but you sit and listen to Carlos Carvajal. He's fantastic value, and he'll be like that. I'm looking forward to quizzing him in the press conference after the game this evening. Hopefully after a Rangers victory, that's for sure. But yeah, he's doing well. I was speaking to a Braga fan yesterday on the website. You can go and check it out. But he said that everyone loves him. He's a hometown boy. He played for the club. He managed them in 2006. He's came back and he won the Portuguese Cup for the first time in their history. So he's doing really well with what is a very young side. So I know that it's relatively inexperienced, but with that there'll be no fear from this Braga team. They'll be going out and taking the game to Rangers, and it's about how Rangers respond, I think.
Midfield, Derek, because we know the back picks itself, really. You're going to go with McGregor, you're going to go with Bassey, Tavernier, Balogun, Goldson. we've talked already about Lundstrom playing that converted role halfway between midfield and defence. In terms of those in front of him, what is your three? I'm going Kamara, Jack, Aaron Ramsey. What about you?
Yeah, I think that I've went with that as well in my predicted lineups. It just adds a bit more steel. I've taken Joe Aribo out. I think for a start, I think Glenn Kamara offers more in a defensive sense. He just bolsters that midfield. He's done well relatively in Europe this season. And I think Joe Aribo, I think that there's no denying he's been out of form since coming back from the African Cup of Nations. He badly needs a rest. He's played over 50 games this season for club and country. He just looks jaded. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him start tonight. He is such a talented player. But I'd agree with you, Jonny. Ramsey starts for me as a toss-up. If Ramsey's fit enough, he starts. If not, I'd play Scott Arfield from the start. But let's hope that Ramsey is fit enough. And yeah, that would be my three ahead of them. Ryan Jack, of course, key as well. I think he's got a big part to play tonight also. But yeah, I'd go along with that three. I think that's a midfield three that can get a result here this evening.
Yeah, Gary Jenkins saying there, without Morelos, I think the options we have up top, we have to go 3-5-2. Roof can do that lone striker, as he's proven twice now against Celtic. I'm not sure you know about that, Gary. I think that Kemar Roof needs bodies in and around him, a little bit like Jermaine Defoe when he was at the club. The main performance that Kemar Roof had against Celtic came when he played up front with Alfredo Morelos. Rangers changed up their formation a little bit. They dropped Kent into a number 10 role and played those two sort of left and right number 9s in that game. I felt that Rangers actually might go with that formation throughout the season this year. It hasn't panned out like that, but that's what we were speculating at the start of the season. Interesting one from Scott Kearney, who's always good for a comment, Derek.
Yep.
Biggest mistake in the transfer window, not paying 500 grand for Suter. I think Rangers were prepared to pay 350k.
Yeah.
But they had a valuation, Derek, and they were not prepared to budge from that. I don't like this. I backed Rangers 100% of that time. I still back them on it because you can't see into the future. You know, you didn't know you were going to have issues continuing with Philip Helander. The truth is, John Suter is kind of a prototype Connor Goldson, so he's not necessarily suited to playing alongside Connor Goldson. He's not left-sided, for example. He's very right-sided, in fact. So for me, Derek, I think it was as much as anything about making a statement that you're just not prepared to go beyond what your valuation is. Yeah. Which I think is a valuable one to make long-term in Scotland when you're having negotiations with other clubs. And if Rangers didn't feel John Suter was worth paying an extra £150,000 for, I don't really feel like it's been someone that the club have missed that much. Okay, Calvin Bassey did have to play quite a few games in central defence, but you know I think that was primarily before the winter break. Yeah. Do you think John Suter would have played if he'd come in?
Listen, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I've seen a number of supporters saying that he should have been brought in and Rangers should have spent the money. I go along with you, Jonny. I don't think Rangers weren't being held to ransom. Hearts, but I think we're asking for an exorbitant amount for a player with 6 months left on his deal. At that point, I mean, defence. I know the defence has been questionable at times, but you've got the likes. You had the likes of Balogun. You've got Goldson there. You mentioned Bass. Helander coming back to fitness. At that point in time, the defence wasn't a concern. It wasn't an area of the pitch that Rangers needed strengthened, and it was the right side of the forward line. And of course, they brought in Amad Diallo, which hasn't worked. And they've brought Aaron Ramsey in as well. But that wasn't a necessity in January, I think, bringing John Suter in. The club obviously agreed with that. And they never paid the money that Hearts were looking for. I think what Rangers were offering was very reasonable. I think that was a very good, that was a decent amount of money for Hearts. What, £300,000 for him with 6 months left on his deal. But they chose to keep him around, of course, and that he's picked up an injury as well, John Suter, after that as well. So who knows if he would have made a big difference to Rangers? But I'm not quite buying that one. I don't think so. I don't think that's a big mistake by Rangers not splashing out to bring him in January.
Yeah, and CGM55 rightly saying, John Souttar's actually injured now, which is perhaps one of the biggest concerns about him, given his injury records over the years. But he's a very good player. There's no doubt about that. We had a piece by Craig Vickers, one of our writers, who was looking at ball-playing centre-halves in Scottish football. Number one's Connor Goldson, number two is John Souttar, based on their ability to move the ball. So he is a very, very good player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Derek, listen, we're going to have to wrap things up. You're obviously out there in Braga with things to do, and I've got to move on to something else this afternoon. But just in terms of your feelings about the game, you're out there, the mood. I take it the mood's buoyant. It always is before a game, regardless. What's the feeling?
Yeah, I think after Sunday, I think the mood was very sombre, disappointed. But like Rangers in Europa League, I mean, they got beat off Celtic, remember, in that match at Parkhead, and they went and beat Dortmund. So they've shown they've got the bounce back ability, for want of a better word, and they can play against the top teams in the continent. I think the Rangers supporters will believe tonight when they enter the municipal stadium in Braga, and they'll believe their team can get a result. And I think they can get a result. They've shown they know how to play away from home in Europe. Supporters aren't really concerned when Rangers play in Europe. It's coming back and playing the likes of St Mirren. Speaking to a fan last night, and he said that we'll beat Braga and then we'll get beat off St Mirren. That's the way it goes. Which is just that it's been a bonkers season for Rangers. But in Europe, certainly there's a sense of belief that they can make the last four, which, as I said earlier on, would be a magnificent achievement for a Scottish club. It really would be. Yeah.
We've got another question in here, Derek. Now, this is an interesting one because Gio, in his pressers, he's just not very... he's not one of these guys that will go into a lot of detail about injuries. He is very, very vague when it comes to anything to do with player injury, and that's gone on through his entire tenure. It's difficult to it's like nailing jelly to a wall, getting information out of him. So, Derek, maybe you can have a wee scout around and see what you can find out about that and tweet about it later if you hear anything, because that is something that we don't have pinned down as to what's wrong with Lowry. I don't think it's a serious injury, because I think we would have heard if it had been something that was keeping him out long term. So it's probably some sort of knock, but we'll try and find out for you, because that is an interesting one.
You mentioned that to me yesterday with my question that he's out, but of course you only get one question in these pre-Europa League press conferences, and nobody followed it up with asking what the issue is with him. But I'll try and investigate and find out what injury that he has sustained and find out the seriousness of it, because let's hope it's nothing too serious, because I know we're talking about it a couple of days ago. He would be ideal to come in now. He's been red hot in the performances that he's played for Rangers and Scotland. Of course, we've all seen that wonderful free kick a couple of weeks ago. So let's hope it's nothing too serious.
Yep, absolutely. Right, guys, we're going to call it a day. I think we can all agree with Alan Kelly on this one. It's a really important game. So let's just hope that Rangers get through it and do well. Until next time, thank you for watching. Please, as I say, go onto the website and subscribe. It's obviously been we've got a terrific offer there, £1 for 2 months, and also you get put into the prize draw where you can win a trip to Ibrox, where you'll be shown around the stadium, behind the scenes, the dressing room, the marble staircase, the lot, by a club legend. That's for 4 people, so it really is a phenomenal prize. And of course, you get access to what we're writing every single day, and there's always tons of in-depth content and analysis on there. So go on to Rangers Review /subscribe to sort that out. It really is a fantastic opportunity to get access to the site for peanuts. And of course, you help facilitate what we're doing here every day on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter with our daily videos. Okay, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we will catch you later.